Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to the Hoot Hobbs Show. With me, as always, Mr. BT, Brandon Torres.
What up, y'all?
And, yeah, man, today for this episode, we're going to talk pretty much Netflix, I guess. Just talk a lot about, new releases on all the streaming platforms.
Okay, that sounds good.
Yeah. And, I don't know. I've got a few things that have come out that I've been excited for. The Last Kingdom is a show on Netflix that I like. And
Yeah, I think you plugged it a couple times on this show.
yeah, I have, and it's good. I'm pretty sure this is the final season that they've released. It's been a couple years since they released a season. If you are a fan of something like, say, Game of Thrones, or I don't know, like Lord of the Rings, I don't even know if you can use all that because this isn't as fantastical. You know what I mean? It's not as much fantasy as much as it's more of a period piece. But The Last Kingdom follows basically the life of this character, Uhtred, who was, basically had his birthright stolen from him as a child. He was a Saxon raised by Danes. And now just in his never-ending pursuit to restore his birthright and reclaim his kingdom, bro just shows no loyalty to nobody. He's just a blade for hire, Works for the Saxons, then he works for the Danes, then he does this. It's kind of hard to, unless you're really into it, it's kind of hard to give a description. But it's basically like a medieval time where just a lot of fighting and a lot of.
But is it a realistic take on things where you're not dealing with like Merlin? He's not going to show up and cast some spells.
There's no
magical, mystical side to it.
There is to an extent, but once again, it's very realistic. It's like we believe this person is like a mage or whatever, and she doesn't really do anything besides burn some sage and and they're like, it's witchcraft, But
okay.
But
so
that's
what I was wondering because I know sometimes they take an embellishment on it and
they
do that when they recant history like that,
right?
And that was kind of what my question was because if that focus isn't on that much of the fantasy element and it's more on the story itself.
Yeah. That's what it is.
Then you got to know that going into there. It's a little grittier. You expect Lord of the Rings going in.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I was like, it's not as fantastical because this isn't as much fantasy as much as it is almost, it's clearly fiction, but it's based loosely biographical. You know what I mean? So it's not, there's not dragons and.
Oh man! So you're saying it's not King Arthur with Charlie Hunnam on it, where that's a good one. Speaking of, if you're on Netflix, you want to catch a good flick.
King Arthur with Charlie Hunnam was a pretty good movie.
It's a Guy Ritchie film, man. Yeah. It's got the same flow as like Snatch, but it's King Arthur.
Yeah, that which was kind of strange, but I like it.
It's a heist movie about King Arthur.
Yeah, he's going to steal that sword out of the stone,
right? This is how he's going to do it. He's first got to assemble a crew.
Yeah, and he does. Of course, King Arthur had a crew.
And they tell the story backwards too. It's a very, very interesting movie. Not to steal the thunder from The Last Kingdom.
No,
but it's just there's so many options out there. The way you tell a story that they're similar, but that's what my question was. Is this one's more of a more serious?
Yeah, this one's definitely a more serious flow. I mean, there's little bits of humor and stuff in there, but I gotta pull this back up because I don't want to mess this dude's name up. The leading actor, Alexander Dreymon. He is a German actor, trying his best to speak with an English accent that comes off sounding Indian.
Fair enough.
He says his name is Uhtred. I'm like, that's still kind of German, man. But anyway.
There's something about whenever other people try to adapt a dialect that's American, they always lean heavy on the Southern because it's the easiest way for them to talk where it doesn't sound the way that they normally talk.
Yeah, right. I would agree with that. And so I tell them it's second nature for me because I'm just Southern. So
we don't even hear it.
Yeah, no, I don't. I didn't even know I had an accent until I went to basic training.
My wife pointed it out. My wife. She pointed this out this morning whenever we were watching Wheel of Fortune. And
why don't you watch Wheel of Fortune in the morning?
This woman was on there and she had a real thick Southern accent because she was from Pine Bluff, Arkansas. She was a teacher.
Oh, well, yeah.
And I was like, man, her accent's thick. And then my wife looked at me and it's like, you don't realize it, but we all have an accent.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, we do. Well, think about it. Unless it's worse, not say worse because that's not the right way of saying it. I mean, nothing's worse about the way someone talks, but Like, and if it's a thicker accent than mine, then I can hear it. If it's not as thick as mine, then I don't hear it at all.
Yeah.
Because I don't think I have an accent. And everyone's like, bro, you definitely have an accent.
Yeah,
like,
there's a little bit of a draw there that we don't even realize it.
Yeah, yeah.
And I think as we just picked it up because of where we live.
Absolutely. Okay, so going on, talking about more of this kind of stuff. If you do, like, if you ever check out The Last Kingdom and you like it, but you're like, man, I wish it had more Lord of the Rings in it, check out Henry Cavill's show on Netflix, The Witcher.
Okay, it's based off a video game. From what I've heard, Henry does a great job here, especially considering the performance that he put on as Superman, where it was very robotic.
Yeah.
And he didn't emote much and very serious all the time.
Well, see, that's the cool thing about him playing, oh my gosh, I don't remember his name. Geralt of Rivia, The Witcher. He's meant to be fairly emotionless. Like, the whole point of a Witcher is that he doesn't feel the things that humans feel.
Perfect.
So it actually works out really good because I think that's actually what Henry Cavill is, an emotionless robot.
Sociopath?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't say sociopath, but I didn't disagree either, you know what I mean?
I know Superman is.
Well, I think Bruce Wayne has mommy issues, but too soon.
Hey, let's give the devil his due. Apparently, Edward Cullen is killing it as Batman. Rave reviews across the board. I haven't had an opportunity to see it.
Me neither, but I have heard some like awesome things about it.
Exactly, and I've been the one here saying, give him a chance.
Not me. Robert Pattinson, I was like, no way. No way.
You mean Sparkles?
Yeah, I was saying, you talking about that vampire like from the Lost Boys, like he glitters and stuff?
All that glitters is gold. Smash Mouth?
Yeah, I was like, no way. Just no way. And apparently he's just done a fantastic job.
See, I've seen him put on performances and things like The Lighthouse. Some of the things that he has performed.
Is that the one with Willem Dafoe?
Yeah, it is.
That was a strange movie. It was a good movie.
Very, very, very strange.
But it was just a strange movie.
Well, the way that movie was aimed is it's supposed to make you feel the psychosis and the madness that those two men are slowly going into.
Right.
What it ended up coming across to me was, you ever see the episode of Ren and Stimpy called Space Madness, where Ren slowly started to lose his mind and Stimpy's trying to hold it together with him, and then just Ren's getting worse and worse and worse? That's what it felt like. It was like live action Ren and Stimpy.
Yeah, right. Which, I actually still welcome that movie. Live action Ren and Stimpy. Wow.
Wait, are we the perfect duo to
possibly
to make this movie happen?
Ren Stimpy, you idiot. So there is a 3-part docuseries on Netflix that's been released called Genius, spelled JEEN-YUHS. And then it's called A Kanye Trilogy. Basically, this 3-part thing is life and times of Kanye West. Okay, this documentary, Cootie is who shot it.
Yes, and it was
most people in the hip hop world know who Cootie is.
It's before Kanye ever laid tracks down.
Yeah.
This is back whenever he was trying to get recognition. He was already a fantastic music producer.
Well, see, that's the whole thing. This covers his rise to becoming such a prominent producer, and really sheds light on the fact that, like, Ye had money from doing all these tracks for Rockefeller Records before he ever spit on a mic one time. They wouldn't, and that's the whole thing. They wouldn't let him. And whenever you watch this, like, no matter how you feel about Kanye the way he is now, whenever you watch this, you respect that hustle because that dude's got it. And he said, okay, they said no, so I'm going to have to find somebody to say yes. And look, when the college dropout hit,
it's inspirational story. I mean, take what you will or what you want from it.
Sure.
And you're also going to try to point your fingers and think of the man of who he's become now.
Sure.
Take all of that aside and just take this story for what it is. Is this man who struggled to make it and to get by, to build up this reputation based on his talent and his skill with music. And then once he is, trying to do his own thing, being held back and shackled from being able to do that.
By the same people that he's laying down fat beats for.
Exactly. Out of, for whatever reason, I don't know if it's jealousy, you can speculate for whatever you want.
Yeah.
But they held him back until he was able to do it on his own. And then once everybody was able to see how talented and creative he was, that's where we've got to where we are now, to where he's a pop culture icon that's going to be a long time before people forget who Kanye West is. It's just plain and simple. Whatever you think about him, he's crossed over into so many spheres that you're going to have an opinion.
Yeah, I mean, like, Nike. You got the what are they called? Yeezys? Isn't that Nike that has Yeezys?
The Yeezys, the most expensive Nikes ever.
Yeah, and Nike is who originally made. There was another famous person they made shoes for. Who was that again? Michael Jordan. Yeah, and Yeezy's still more expensive. So there's a little bit of what going on there. But either way, like by the end of it, what I do respect about Cootie is that he really put his friendship with Kanye ahead of things. Whenever he's telling this story, for instance, in the more recent years, because Kanye obviously deals with mental illness. Okay, that's not me saying he's crazy.
Who doesn't?
Yeah, right, exactly. But when you find out that for a long time he was undiagnosed bipolar, it makes more sense. You know what I'm saying? Some of his crazy antics, like me of all people, I'm certainly not going to cut the man down for claiming Jesus is king or taking pictures with Donald Trump. But at the same time, it became pretty evident that he was struggling because like he would do this thing and then he'd back off of it and like, oh, I don't know, and then okay, here's this and oh wait, I don't know.
Erratic behavior as of recent times.
Yeah, and right.
With the newfound, divorce and everything that he's going through, and now he's even as of time of recording, he's still going off on Pete Davidson.
Yeah, I mean, what God kept me here to whoop Pete Davidson's ass or something like that.
Just even as of yesterday, I believe he was stoking the fire with Instagram posts and stuff. So he's like,
and obviously that's not a man who's in his right mind. Even if he has good reasons to be out of his right mind, with maybe he just loves Kim Kardashian that much and it hurts him. I get that, but you're a public figure, brother. You got to calm that down.
Yeah, and he means a lot more than what he thinks he means sometimes to some people. So it's like you need to keep in mind, though, all of your actions have this ripple effect where other people see what you're doing and how you're acting, and they try to emulate you because they look at you as a role model. And take what you will from whether he wants to be a role model or not. It's the same thing that I said about Charles Barkley back in the 90s. Whenever he said, we're athletes, we're not role models.
Yeah,
I'll tell you this. Well, sorry, Bubba, that's not how it works.
Yeah, that's right.
You got to take one with the other. You want the fame and the money and the accolade.
You're going to have to
step
accept
into
the responsibility of it as well.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's something that I think that maybe one day he'll be more mindful of, but I think right now he's just hurting.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's the biggest thing. Kanye's in pain and he's showing out because of it. But what I will say is earlier in the week you shared a post about Pete Davidson. He is going to space.
Billionaire space race. He's in. He's all in.
Yeah, so...
He gave the Amazon guys some money, so he's going to hop on and float in the troposphere.
Yeah, with Dr. Evil. Jeff Bezos, excuse me. They look a lot alike. So... okay, so, and of course you put the caption that homie will do anything to avoid Kanye, and we had some interaction on that.
We did. Somebody disagreed.
Yeah, he said, you got it wrong. Kanye's the one ducking PD. And I'm here to tell you right now, like, you might be right. You might be right. I don't know. But I'm just going to tell you from my standpoint. If it was like, yo, you got one of these dudes here that you can duck and the other one you're going to have to fight. I'm like, okay, who they? And he's like, Kanye and Pete Davidson. I'm going to be like, I'm ducking Kanye, I'm fighting Pete.
I'm not going to fight with crazy. And Pete Davidson's got his demons, and he's maybe crazy in a different way.
Yeah,
but Kanye West is like, he'll wake up in the middle of the night and stab you because he thought that you were trying to steal his shoes when you were in a different room.
Yeah, exactly. And Pete, I don't know, man. You're just... honestly, he's a drug addict from Staten Island. That's what he is. I mean, I'm just not afraid of that. I'm sorry.
I hope that they can resolve these issues in the most peaceful way possible.
They need to,
civil way
because,
possible. But
yeah, because my God, it's what over Kim Kardashian? What?
I'm going to bite my tongue on this one, but I'll say this: I don't have the highest opinions of her for just about anything that she's ever done.
Well, because let me ask you,
and I'm not throwing shade on actions as far as being a moral police.
Yeah. I'm just talking about her
as a person. I don't like her.
Yeah. Well, let me ask you this though, and I'm not talking about once you said morals. I'm talking about just even professionally. What's Kim Kardashian done besides have a terrible TV show?
makeup, I think, and I think even her little sister did that better.
I would say Kylie Jenner is who has the big time makeup line.
Yeah, so I don't know. I really don't know, other than her being a big old name and, of course,
a big old butt.
Yeah.
That was the picture that broke the internet, right?
It's the picture that continues to break the internet. I think it's the one that broke Kanye's mind.
Yeah, he'd be like, "That's my wife." He went Harrison Ford. He said, "That's my wife."
Yeah, he went crazy. He went ham. Now, we had the interaction with the person who disagreed with us. Yeah. Said it's the other way around. However, I think that even as of yesterday, Pete Davidson had tried to back away from the situation again. He's trying to step aside from it because he doesn't.
Yeah, like I don't think Pete's actually ducking Kanye. I think that he
wants us to go. He wants.
Yeah,
us to
I don't think he
down.
wants to have any part of this, and I don't blame him. I wouldn't either.
Look at it from Pete's perspective. He's got pretty girl. He's happy with the pretty girl.
Sure,
and he's getting all this backlash because of the opinions of how he got pretty girl.
Sure,
and also if he should be with that pretty girl because that pretty girl's someone else's in his mind.
Yeah, well, but here's the deal. Okay, so let's talk Pete Davidson for a minute.
Yeah.
I'm actually not the biggest fan of Pete Davidson.
See, I like Pete. He's okay.
I like his. I loved his performances on just about every Comedy Central roast. He's really good at roast comedy.
He's a really funny guy.
I've watched one of his stand-ups, and honestly, I guess my mindset is too far in the other direction to really enjoy Pete Davidson's stuff the way that most people do. Of course, I could say the same thing about like Anthony Jeselnik. Anthony Jeselnik, doesn't necessarily have any political things that he talks about, but some of his jokes I find to be repulsive. Of course, the way I feel about like abortion and stuff like that. I really don't think joking about dead babies is something that I can get on board with. And Anthony Jeselnik does it a lot. Yeah. Well, Pete Davidson has a similar style to where, nothing's off limits. And I understand, hey, comedy's comedy, and maybe nothing is off limits. But if I don't like it, I don't have to be like, we need to cancel him.
That's the way that it works. Like, you don't like him, you don't have to purchase his stuff or see his stuff that he's in. And,
the best things I've seen with him has been like his Smart Water commercial, and then of course like every time he's done a roast because like I love hearing him rip on Ann Coulter.
King of Staten Island. I
didn't watch
documentary.
It. I just say I didn't watch it.
I thought Bill Burr did a remarkable job as well playing the role that he played in there because it's outside of Bill's wheelhouse as well to play that. Did he care about somebody?
Well,
he played like a conservative gentleman, more or less, that's combative with Pete in his liberal mindset.
Yeah.
So it's an interesting take because if you know Bill Burr,
he's pretty
liberal minded.
I would say, but see, that's something I can respect because like I always compare things to you when it comes down to liberal mindsets that I get along with.
Yeah.
Because there's not a lot of them. But like with me, but like. You can be liberal and have that mindset all you want. Just be decent to me. Like if I say, I don't agree with that.
And that's the thing is throughout the course of the movie, they even come to like an agreement on things.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the way our show is structured.
Yeah.
Like we can be completely, vastly different in our opinions on all kinds of stuff, gay marriage and abortion and stuff like that. Yeah. But we can also agree to disagree. We can, I can see I'm pushing a button and it's starting to bother you.
Right.
And I don't want to antagonize you or make you upset. So let's come back and circle back and talk about this at a different time.
Sure.
So that's kind of the way this is. It's like, okay, they don't agree on this. This guy kind of opened his mind to this that he didn't see before. But also likewise, you can't just judge this guy because of the way you have built in your head. This is how all of the people that are like him act.
Yeah.
Because that's the same exact thing that everybody is always accused, any racist or bigot of being is not open-minded about anything. And that's the thing is you have to put the shoe on the other foot and give them the same respect that you're asking.
Yeah, it's my favorite one. I'll take a turn ripping on conservatives, okay? My favorite one is, it's basically the same thing. It's like, well, you're just so closed-minded. You're so closed-minded about everything. You won't even try to see things our way. Okay. Well, are you going to try to see things our way? No! I ain't trying to see things your way. Jesus, that's why. Jesus is usually my reason for like disagreeing with things like abortion and stuff like that. Yeah. But at the same time, if I'm not willing to just shut up and at least go, during a conversation to let you say your piece, then I'm no better. You know, being closed-minded and shut up about everything
and that's where nothing ever gets done. That's when
which is why we're in the same situation we're in this country right now.
You have to have compromise. Like it's the way anything has ever come across at the end. There has to be a compromise. If you're gonna take something from someone, the only fair thing to do is give them something in return. Now, it always hasn't been that way. But if you're looking at it from a fair vantage point, that's the way you should manage and handle it. So if I'm going to give you the platform and the ability to speak and say things that I disagree entirely with, then I would at least expect you to give me the same.
Yeah.
And that's what you give me, and that's what I give you, and that's why we're able to work here.
Oh, yeah.
And that's why I think that we are a good example of everything doesn't have to be black and white. There are shades of gray, and sometimes that shades of gray is how things get done and progress gets made for the better.
Aaron Lewis would tell us that there's 14 shades of gray. Shout out. Nobody remembers the Stained 14
guy?
Shades. Yeah, man, 14 Shades of Grey.
I loved Aaron Lewis, and that again, the different political beliefs.
Yeah, that's a good point. I didn't even think about that.
And he was like a musical laureate for me as a youth. Like his lyrics, I felt that deepness that was in those sad songs because there's a lot of angst in me as a youth.
Yeah.
So I felt that, and then as I got older and I learned more about him as a person and his philosophies and his beliefs, and we're vastly different in a lot of ways, I still enjoy his music and I still like him. Yeah. And that's what a lot of people have a hard time separating. It's like, I can't listen to those songs anymore because I know he's a conservative guy. And it's like, what the does it matter?
Yeah. I mean, that's a good point. I mean, it's like me saying I can't listen to Lil Yachty. Because, you know, he's clearly a leftist. Well, you know, if I was really going to do that, I might as well just turn the radio off. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can
don't watch TV or listen to radio.
Just go hide in a room, sit on a stool, eat saltines, but only a certain brand of saltines because others might be connected to liberals. I mean, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. It's silly.
You don't want to go down that rabbit hole.
No, that's silly. You know, so we kind of got off subject there.
Not really, because it's the Hoot Hobbs show.
That's true. And there ain't no party like a Hoot Hobbs party because a Hoot Hobbs party don't stop. I'm not super proud of this, but my wife had me watch on Netflix the series Love is Blind. And let me tell you, what an absolute train wreck that show is. Oh my gosh. It is. Okay, look, if you're anything like me, I'm going to go ahead and give you one of my guilty pleasures in life. I love trash TV. Like Maury, love it. Springer, love it. Wilkos, I'm in. Okay, love trash TV. Love is Blind. That is, let me, to quote John Michael O'Mara, that's the epitome of trash TV. If you don't know what the epitome of it, it's actually epitome. But anyway, it is the epitome of trash TV. So here's the basis, right? You have so many men, so many women, and they have like these pods that they go in, which are just like little private rooms that are separated so they don't see each other.
I feel like I've seen this trailer on Netflix, so I'm already ready to cringe, brother. Keep going.
Oh, yeah. It's awful, bro. It's so bad. Anyway, so you put, you know, the guys are on their side of the wall that they're talking through, and then, you know, the ladies are on the other side, whatever. And oh man, they like, what's crazy is like the first people that got engaged were like, "Oh, we've talked to each other 3 times. You want to marry me?" Yes. Oh my gosh, yes. I've waited for you my whole life. How do you know? And you've never even seen each other. And people are like, well, that's to prove that love is blind. I'm like, well, love is blind. Unfortunately, affection is not. You know what I'm saying? I'm not trying to say that, you know, beauty is in the eye of the beholder, and love will inevitably make someone beautiful in your eyes. I believe that, truly. But when you've got to know someone for 3 minutes and then you walk out and they don't look like what you were hoping they did, that's probably not a good basis.
Wah, 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 wah. Exactly, and that's kind of the basis of catfish as well, but in a different sense, where it's, you know, you build up this relationship with a stranger online just to be pulled, you know, blindly. Like, hey, it wasn't a young lady from Arizona; it's this giant man from New York. It's like, what? It's like, you were just tricked, but it's the same thing, because the relationship that they develop through talking is one thing, and then whenever you see a person, there has to be that spark. Yeah. Otherwise, it's a struggle from the beginning, and it's not fair to the person that isn't meeting the appeal of the other person right off the bat to go into that, pretending.
Right.
Because it needs to be better.
So there's this guy on this season my wife maybe watches. They call him Sheikh. He's Indian. So his name is like Abhishek, or I don't know how to pronounce it, and I'm sorry if I butchered that. But he's an Indian guy, so they call him Sheikh. And he's very shallow, and, by his own self-admittance, he's very shallow, right? Physicality, the physical look, you can't be too big, all this kind of... He makes no bones about it. And they make this guy out to be like the worst human being in the world. So here's the deal. His views are not what made him that to me. Now, the way he went about is what made him the worst human being in the world, because he is truly the worst human being in the world. But he has a good point, and it's just like what you were saying. There has to be a physical spark.
Yeah, there has to be an attraction there.
Yeah, because if there's not, that doesn't bode well for you, because I don't care what anyone says. Love is blind. Sure, love is blind. You can be in love with someone and not want to be physically intimate with them. Well, the problem is, for true love, physical intimacy is a big part of it. And everyone's like, oh, you just say that because all you think about sex. No, I've been married for the better part of a decade. Sex is kind of not top priority anymore. It is to me, but not in our relationship.
Yeah, it's categorized amongst other things that are important.
Sure.
But it's there. It is important. It is a thing. And if it's important to you, brother, it should be important to your spouse.
That's right.
Is, which is what makes the relationship work.
Exactly. So, here's the deal. My wife and I have been together, like I said, better part of a decade. We've been together for over 9 years, just over 9 years now. And does she look the same way she did when we started dating? No. Do I look the same way? No. I used to be made of rock and steel. I am now made of quarter pounders and pudding. Okay, just gross. Anyway, but there's still. I'm going to go on a limb. I'm going to speak for both of us, okay? There is still a physical attraction between the two of us. You know what I mean? I don't... She'll sit there and... if you ever heard my wife describe herself, she is the revolting...
Gollum?
Well, no, because Gollum's too skinny for her.
I was going to say most women describe themselves honestly as like Gollum, and it's like, come on, be fair to yourself.
But quit fishing and go look in a mirror. You're hot, man. I'm sorry.
That's the way we've always looked at it too. It's like, are they fishing for a compliment?
Right,
and that's not necessarily the case.
It's really not,
be a
man.
Self-esteem thing. If someone's not feeling it in that moment.
Yeah.
Or there's also something to be said about being that humble to not think that, oh yeah, I'm hot.
Yeah, right. Well, with my wife, man, I don't know. She if she described herself to you, you would picture a grotesquely obese goat woman from hell. You know what I mean? And then when you see her, you're like, oh, you're not a goat woman at all. You're quite lovely. This is crazy, But my wife's a little too hard on herself, I think, because my girl fine, bro, But of course, then she looks at me and she's like, "Well, he's put on some weight." So
he's my husband.
Yeah, he tries. We know that he definitely tries.
Those luxurious locks just keep growing, brother.
That's right. I'm over here shaking this mop. But yeah, man. Anyway, I don't know what even got us on that. Oh, Love is Blind.
Love is Blind.
Anyway, I'm not even
TV.
Yeah, it's just trash TV. And basically, that's the premise. And out of all of them, there were only 2 relationships that actually went through with a marriage and are still married to this day. And by this day, we mean they probably got it annulled. But, who knows? They did the little reunion show. Yeah. And there's a sociopath and essentially, a lack of a better way of putting it, a cuck. So you got a sociopath and a cuck that got married, and you're like, oh, well, that actually might last a long time. Oof. Because he ain't going anywhere. You already know that. And then the other 2, the other couple actually looked like they could make it. You know what I'm saying? This young lady was just so forgiving on this dude. He messed up on the show. They had to rewatch it together. You know what I mean? I was like, ooh, that ain't no good, bro. Don't do that. But either way, yeah. Let me tell you something. The cringe in this show is so real.
I used to watch those old VH1 reality shows, so
it's the same thing, bro. It's the exact same.
Like a Love Bus, a Rock of Love, and all that crap.
God, Rock of Love with Brett Michaels.
Yeah, it's like I want to watch Brett Michaels fall in love with this beautiful groupie.
Yeah, and it's like I fell in love. We made out for hours. What was her name, Brett? I don't know. I don't think it was love.
Heather, Megan, Heather. I don't know.
It was either Heather or Megan. I'm like, well, that's all of them. That's all of their names. Heather and Megan. There's a Jessica in there. You know there has to be at least one Jessica. But if your name's Jessica and you're listening,
Brett Michaels is looking for you.
Brett Michaels is looking for you, and he's only 106 years old now. So I don't know. I know he's not that old, but he's bald, and he wears a bandana with a wig on. So there's that. Do with that what you will. Oh yeah,
I've been watching Tommy and Pam on Hulu.
Okay.
Oh,
is this like a series or is this a movie?
It's like a docu series, but done with humor. And what it is it's basically the guy that was the handyman that stole the sex tape that was released and famous during the 90s from Tommy Lee and Pamela Anderson.
Yeah.
It's a story and series around that, but the shenanigans in this movie and some of the scenes are some of the wildest things.
Oh, really?
For a Hulu series. Like, I don't know how in-depth we want to get on it on the show here, but there's a scene where Tommy Lee's penis and him talk to each other, and the penis is talking back, and they have a song and a whole montage. There's a whole thing.
That's weird.
Because, he's famous for his junk.
Yeah, right, yeah. People are like, Tommy Lee. Oh, yeah, he's got like a schlong, right? I was like, he was the drummer for
like
Motley Crue.
And talking and the whole thing.
Yeah, nobody even remembers he's the drummer for Motley Crue. But
not at all. And at this point in this movie, I think he was more famous for his schlong than he was for the drumming part.
Yeah,
but the movie does build up a lot of Pamela Anderson's background of where she come from and when they met.
Yeah,
and I will say that this Lily James, she does a remarkable job as Pamela Anderson. Like, she looks like her. She's got the mannerisms down.
Yeah.
And Bucky, the Winter Soldier, is your Tommy Lee.
Yeah, Sebastian Stan.
And he kills it as Tommy Lee as well. It's a good, really funny and really good series if you can, it's not safe for work humor. All of it throughout of it. I mean, it's produced by... he's in the movie. Seth Rogen, so you get what you expect out of this.
Yeah.
But it's really funny. And
Nick Offerman's in this as well.
It's very, very entertaining. I'll say that.
Okay.
If you're not easily offended, and you know the story of the 90s about the stolen sex tape, which a lot of people do know it in pop culture, it's funny, worth a watch. I will say that the singing penis thing did kind of catch me off guard.
Which
I like. I mean, I can't say I don't like it. My wife and I are going to continue to watch it and finish it.
Yeah.
And she doesn't even she knows the backstory, but she doesn't know like it real in depth. So this is kind of also like a documentary to her.
Yeah, sure.
But it's done in the name of humor. What really I find weird is how would Tommy and Pam feel about this? Because this is an interesting, very private, intimate part of their lives that they went to court over.
Okay, so here's the deal, though. I think, my opinion, at this point, I don't think Tommy has a problem with it. Because I think as long as it's something that continues to bring him relevancy and money, I think he's cool with it. Pam, she really after the escapades with Kid Rock, and all that kind of stuff in the early 2000s.
She kind of settled down.
She kind of settled down and went about her business. And
she's a mom now and everything.
Yeah, exactly. So I would see if anyone would have a problem with it or even, honestly have a right to have a problem with it, I would say it's Pam.
Yeah, because it's hyper-sexualized. Let me preface this. That if you're not easily offended, completely not safe for work at any point. I mean, I just told you there's a singing penis in it.
Yeah.
So it's
like me personally, I'm not easily offended, but I don't know that I will watch this just because I just don't know if I'll watch it. I'm not going to sit here and say no, absolutely not. But at the same time, It depends. Like I might try it out, and if it's just too over the top for me, then I'll be like, nah.
It doesn't start out that way, but it gets there. It gets there once it becomes all about how much Tom and Pam were boning each other all the time.
Right. Which
so
it
is not. It is what it is because that's part of the story. It's the way the story was always told that they were really hot and heavy, had a lot of PDA and everything, and they lean into that in the story that they're telling.
And you can believe it because she continued the same behavior with Kid Rock, like I said.
It continued, and Tommy's always been, he's a drummer in a rock band from the 80s. I mean, come on.
I say, and another thing, since we're on Tommy Lee, Netflix a few years ago put out like a biographical movie on Motley Crue called The Dirt. And Tommy Lee was played by Machine Gun Kelly. And surprisingly enough, Machine Gun Kelly killed it. Just a great job. The movie itself was entertaining, but like it really lets you get a glimpse into the world that was Motley Crue back in the 80s. And you're like, I don't think I would want to be a part of that because it was just this drug-fueled
orgy.
Essentially, and you're just like, man, that's the type of life. I mean, that type of life is too dirty for me.
It's amazing to look at and see that these men are still alive today.
Oh yeah,
what they went through. There's actually, if you ever want to talk about a documentary that is pretty interesting, I think it's called like The Fall of Western Civilization, but it's a documentary about like the rock bands of that time period.
Yeah.
And it gets pretty in-depth about, the partying aspect of it.
Right.
And you can truly see how hard these guys go.
Oh, yeah.
And how scary it is, the limits that they push the human body to and not die.
Yeah.
And then there's the times that they do almost die and they're brought back. And
like Nikki Sixx,
a number of times.
Yeah.
So that's why it's interesting to watch it, but whenever they're glorifying it in that sense, you need to take away from it what you will. That while that looks like it's a lot of fun,
think about the consequences.
Think about the consequences and where they're at today, and that they are fortunate they're still alive to be able to tell this story.
Well, and that's what Nikki Sixx did whenever he had. I guess he still has 6 a.m. the band, but they put an album called The Heroin Diaries, and it told a pretty dark story about Nikki Sixx's heroin addiction and everything else, and. That's he's clean, and when you see these guys get older and they're all about living clean and all that kind of stuff, that should tell you something because they weren't always like that. But neither here nor there. So Pam and Tommy, that's probably, if I had to guess, we'd probably say like if you're a single guy, you'll probably really like it. If you got kids at home, you probably shouldn't watch it, at least not until they're in bed.
Yeah, exactly. You don't want to watch it when the children are up for sure. The little ones don't need to be anywhere near it. It is way too much for anyone that is under the age of 18, I will say at least.
All right, man. Well, hey, thank you guys for tuning in to another fun and exciting episode of the Hoot Hobbs Show. Find us on the socials. Send us a message, talk to us, tell us what you want to hear, tell us your hopes and dreams, all that good stuff. Be on the lookout for the new sports show that will be dropping this weekend. And actually last weekend, I guess. I don't know. We record a lot, so I don't know where we are. But there's a sports show that's going to be out. So whatever, man. Thanks for staying with us, guys. If you can stay with us, we'll stay with you. And we will bid you good night.